Shiro opened a small stall while villagers gathered around the busy counter. Orders quickly increased as he organized the goods and his partner handled the customers beside him. Soon, every item was sold, leaving the basket empty and both of them satisfied with the result. After counting the silver coins, Shiro realized the exchange value would bring huge profit in Japan. Surprise spread across their faces as the successful trade exceeded their expectations. The girl admired Shiro's ability to sell goods so naturally while he reacted with quiet embarrassment. Later, Shiro stood before a strange portal connected to the forest beyond his grandmother's house. Outside the doorway, an unfamiliar world appeared with distant mountains, 2 moons, and a small town nearby. Turning around, he confirmed the portal still linked directly to the Japanese-style room inside the house. After inheriting the home, Shiro carefully examined the mysterious connection between modern Japan and the other world. Shiro doubted the strange doorway and convinced himself the phenomenon was only caused by exhaustion. Even after reopening the closet, he continued treating the mysterious passage as a simple hallucination. Memories of his missing grandmother returned as Shiro compared the portal with her strange behavior from years ago. During childhood, he often asked about her hidden secret, but she always avoided giving a real answer. Before passing away, his grandmother promised the truth would be revealed once he became older. Shiro discovered a letter hidden beside his grandmother's photograph after examining the altar room carefully. While reading the message, he learned his grandmother originally came from another world called Rufardio. The letter explained the connected closet, dangerous monsters, magic, and a special ring that translated foreign languages. Overwhelmed by the shocking information, Shiro struggled to understand the truth left behind by his grandmother. Soon he examined the mysterious ring and books, realizing the strange world was completely real. After reading the strange book, Shiro suddenly gained a skill that allowed him to understand the foreign language. Soon, another mysterious power appeared, causing books to float while he reacted with complete shock. Later, Shiro received an inventory skill and began considering whether he should enter the other world again. Although nervous about traveling, he decided to prepare supplies before exploring the unfamiliar land tomorrow. Before resting, Shiro quietly prayed at his grandmother's altar and promised he would continue forward. With a backpack prepared, Shiro stepped through the portal and began exploring the other world alone. Soon he reached a lively town filled with merchants, adventurers, and crowded market streets. After walking around the area, Shiro admired the peaceful atmosphere while hunger slowly distracted him. A food stall owner noticed his interest and offered grilled meat at a cheap price. Curious about the unfamiliar meal, Shiro learned the skewer was made from horned rabbit meat sold in the market. Shiro realized he had forgotten to bring local currency after stopping at the meat stall. While checking his pocket, he noticed the remaining Japanese yen from a convenience store purchase earlier. Suddenly, the bills transformed into unfamiliar coins through the power of his exchange skill. Shocked by the strange change, Shiro hurried back to confirm the value of the bronze coins. After receiving confirmation from the shop owner, he understood his ability could convert money between both worlds. Receiving extra skewers from the stall owner, Shiro happily enjoyed his first purchase in the town. Nearby, he quietly ate the unfamiliar meat while noticing the plain flavor of another world's cooking. Curiosity soon returned as the equivalent exchange skill made him question whether coins could change back again. With a quick test, the foreign currency instantly transformed into Japanese yen inside his hand. Excitement spread across Shiro's face after confirming the skill worked perfectly between both worlds. Back at home, Shiro imagined earning huge profits in Japan by exchanging money from the other world. After testing a larger amount, he received a silver coin and immediately checked its value with the stall owner. The explanation revealed that silver coins were worth far more than bronze currency in the town. Carefully counting his remaining money, Shiro estimated he already possessed enough funds to travel comfortably. Filled with excitement, he continued exploring the lively streets while admiring the unfamiliar scenery around him. Shiro wandered through the crowded marketplace and observed many races living together in the busy town. Excitement filled him as he noticed adventurers, beastfolk, and unusual merchants moving between the stalls. Feeling out of place, he realized his modern clothes attracted attention from nearby residents. Before searching for new clothes, Shiro encountered a young girl carrying a basket of flowers alone. Concerned by her situation, he stopped to ask about the flowers and learned she sold them for only a few bronze coins. Shiro learned the flower basket actually cost 2 bronze coins, though the girl quickly lowered the price. Instead of accepting the discount, he chose a different flower and paid the original amount she mentioned earlier. After receiving the payment, the girl agreed to answer several questions in return for his kindness. Nervously introducing herself, she revealed her name was Ina while speaking with Shiro in the street. Their first meeting ended warmly as Shiro introduced himself and gently shook Ina's small hand. During their conversation, Shiro asked Aina about the town while continuing to gather useful information from her. From her explanation, he learned the kingdom's currency system and realized gold coins held enormous value there. Observing the workers nearby, Shiro discovered most residents earned only a few silver coins each month. Aina also explained that merchants needed permission from the local government before starting any business activity. After hearing everything, Shiro immediately decided to buy more flowers, leaving Aina completely surprised by his request. Shiro handed over 30 bronze coins and bought every flower from Aina without hesitation. Seeing the unexpected purchase, Aina thanked him warmly while struggling to hide her happiness. Holding the flowers carefully, Shiro remembered his grandmother and believed she would have loved them as well. Joy quickly spread across Aina's face after hearing his compliment about the flowers she sold. Wanting to repay his kindness, Aina happily guided Shiro toward the local government office through the busy town. Aina guided Shiro through the town and brought him to the large government office near the center district. Upon entering the building, Shiro became nervous after meeting a strict official who questioned his background immediately. After completing the paperwork, he learned foreigners needed official permission before selling goods in the kingdom. Several business choices were introduced, including hawker, peddler, and shop owner licenses with different daily costs, carefully comparing the prices. Shiro selected the peddler option and prepared to start trading the following day. Relief spread across Shiro's face after learning the business registration fee was unexpectedly cheap for newcomers. The official explained that the mayor controlled market prices while wishing success for Shiro's future business. After finishing the registration, Aina quietly prepared to leave and return to her usual work nearby. Walking in the wrong direction, Shiro quickly embarrassed himself before Aina called him back toward the market. Together, they returned through the busy streets while Aina asked what products he planned to sell tomorrow. Aina suggested that Shiro should sell products useful for adventurers visiting the crowded marketplace. Looking around the town, Shiro noticed many heavily equipped adventurers gathering near the market streets. After hearing about the dangerous forest nearby, he realized monsters attracted adventurers searching for valuable materials and rewards. The explanation also revealed why Aina struggled to sell flowers in a town focused on survival goods. Before parting ways, Aina happily thanked Shiro for buying her flowers and expressed gratitude for meeting him that day. Cheerful guidance from Aina led Shiro deeper into the marketplace as he awkwardly reacted to her compliments. Along the busy streets, various stores displayed ropes, cloaks, lanterns, weapons, and camping tools for adventurers. Observing the crowded area carefully, he realized Aina possessed surprisingly useful knowledge about local business trends. Meanwhile, her energetic explanations caused Shiro to drift into thoughts about building a successful trading plan. Eventually, Shiro revealed a strange product from modern Japan after deciding what merchandise he wanted to sell. The following morning, Aina greeted Shiro enthusiastically while he prepared the products for his first business day. Sitting beside the street, Shiro noticed Aina had already gathered fresh flowers early in the morning. Proudly holding the bouquet, she hoped the sales would help her mother buy much-needed medicine later. After parting from Shiro, Aina nervously approached strangers and continued trying to sell flowers around the market. Watching her efforts from nearby, Shiro quietly encouraged Aina while promising himself to work hard as well. An adventurer stopped in front of Shiro's stall and became curious about the unusual product being sold there. Carefully explaining the item, Shiro introduced matches and described how the small sticks could create fire instantly. Using one match, he demonstrated the process by striking it against the side of the box. Shock immediately spread across the adventurer's face after witnessing fire appear from such a tiny object for the first time. After creating fire with a single match, Shiro immediately attracted attention from nearby adventurers and townspeople. Curious spectators gathered around the stall as Shiro repeated the demonstration step by step for everyone watching. Shock quickly spread through the crowd because most residents had never seen fire created so easily before. Taking advantage of their interest, Shiro encouraged the people nearby to try using the matches themselves. While observing the reactions carefully, Shiro realized matches could become a highly profitable product in this unfamiliar world. An elderly adventurer admitted he had never witnessed such an unusual fire-making tool despite his long experience. While explaining its advantages, Shiro described how matches remove the difficulty of starting fires during travel. Confidence grew as he promoted matches as a simple replacement for flint, magic tools, and costly methods. Holding the small box high, Shiro successfully captured the full attention of the gathered crowd. Excitement quickly shifted toward buying the product once the adventurers finally asked about the price of matches. After hearing the suggested price, Shiro quietly began calculating the best way to sell matches in the market. Two possible strategies appeared in his mind, either selling expensive luxury goods or cheaper products in larger amounts. Careful consideration led him toward the second option, because affordable items could attract far more customers. Remembering ordinary products from Japan, Shiro realized simple everyday goods could become valuable merchandise in this world. With his decision complete, Shiro announced a special opening price and officially began selling matches to the crowd. Large crowds surrounded Shiro's stall as matches sold out far faster than he originally expected. Exhaustion quickly hit Shiro after spending the entire day dealing with endless customers and orders. While resting, he noticed dark clouds gathering above the town and suddenly remembered Ina's flower business. Far from the crowded market, Ina continued trying to sell flowers alone beside the quiet street. Despite calling out to passing people, very few customers showed interest in buying her inexpensive flowers. By the end of the day, Shiro had already sold every match and closed his successful stall early. Curious about Ina's results, he quickly noticed her flower basket was still mostly full. Disappointment slowly appeared on Ina's face as she questioned why nobody wanted to buy her flowers. Trying to hide her sadness, Ina forced a smile and prepared to continue selling alone elsewhere. Before she could leave, Shiro suddenly grabbed Ina's hand and stopped her from walking away. After stopping Ina, Shiro seriously asked her to listen to an important proposal for a moment. Nervousness immediately overwhelmed Ina when Shiro invited her to help manage his shop the following day. Calmly reassuring her, Shiro explained that he trusted Ina and promised she would receive proper payment. Excitement quickly replaced her worries as Ina happily accepted the offer without any hesitation. Relief spread across Shiro's face while Ina admitted she wanted to improve and stop failing to sell flowers. Ina smiled warmly and sincerely thanked Shiro for giving her a chance to work beside him. Hearing her repeated gratitude, Shiro felt motivated to work harder and prepare seriously for the shop tomorrow. Ina left her home early, waving to her mother who remained resting in bed. She declined to take the usual flowers, saying she'd help Shiro instead. Meanwhile, Shiro stood before the swirling portal in his modern home. Before stepping in, he looked at his grandmother's portrait and asked for good luck. Crossing worlds had become routine. With shoes removed, Shiro stepped confidently into the alternate realm, ready to begin the day's work. On arrival, he spotted Ina already waiting. She greeted him cheerfully, reassuring that she hadn't waited long. The market was already bustling. Ina pointed to the crowd forming near their stall. Shiro quickly prepared the stall while Ina, full of energy, encouraged him with determination. As crowds gathered, nearby vendors began to complain about the blocked street. Shiro immediately apologized and considered the risk. Just then, a familiar face emerged from the crowd. The man recognized Shiro, surprised to meet the lord of the rotisserie. They spoke about the item called match, which had been gaining attention. The merchant couple offered help, noticing Shiro's overwhelmed state. Understanding the situation, the woman proposed that Shiro relocate to their stall on the town's outskirts, free of charge for the day. It would ease the congestion and help maintain harmony. Grateful for the offer, Shiro and Ina accepted the kind gesture from the siblings without hesitation. Curious, Shiro asked if the woman was his wife, only to learn she was his sister, which surprised him. With directions in hand, they navigated through town and finally arrived at the new stall location on the outskirts. Before opening, Shiro explained their item codes while Ina prepared nervously. A long line of eager customers had already formed. Busyness started fast. Shiro called out orders while Ina responded quickly. Despite the rush, they worked in sync, keeping up with demand. Ina watched in awe as the crowd surged forward, eager to buy the matches. Products disappeared from the stall faster than expected. Eventually, their entire stock sold out again. Ina confirmed their success with excitement. Later, the friendly merchants tallied up the sales, revealing the impressive earnings. Shiro thanked them again for lending the stall. Reflecting on the day, Shiro realized how underestimated the potential was. What began as modest expectations had multiplied into massive gains in just 3 hours. Overwhelmed by the weight of the profits, Shiro struggled to carry the heavy earnings. Before trouble could arise, he urged they leave quickly, cautious not to attract unwanted attention. Shiro considered using his pocket dimension to store the heavy coins, but decided it was too risky in public. Appreciating her efforts, Shiro suggested she treat herself and her mother. Ina blushed, holding the pouch tightly with gratitude. Despite Ina's repeated thanks, Shiro insisted she was the one who helped him. Her smile brightened as she struggled to contain her appreciation. Shiro teased her lightheartedly when she tried to continue thanking him. The moment lightened the mood, drawing laughter from both of them. Noticing how long they had worked without rest, Shiro suggested a quick meal. Ina's stomach growled in response, making her flustered as they both agreed to take a much-needed break. Ina curiously examined the unfamiliar food. Shiro introduced it as a sandwich. surprising her with the pure white bread. Delighted by the taste, Aina eagerly devoured it, eyes sparkling with joy. Shiro was pleased by her reaction. While enjoying their break, a woman approached and politely asked if she could speak with Shiro. He paused mid-bite, giving her his attention. She mentioned hearing rumors about matches being sold in town. Shiro confirmed they were the sellers, but explained they had sold out. However, she revealed she wasn't there to purchase. Instead, the woman admitted she came specifically to see him. Her sudden declaration left an air of mystery between them. Karen Sankareka introduced herself confidently. To Shiro's surprise, she revealed her true identity as the town's mayor. Karen Sankareka arrived late but composed, confidently announcing herself as the mayor of Ninurich. Shiro stared stunned that such a young woman held the position of leadership. He had expected someone older and more rugged, someone like the muscular man from earlier rumors. Standing before Shiro, Karen bowed respectfully. She expressed gratitude for his decision to conduct business in her town, acknowledging his unique skills. Caught off guard, Shiro fumbled over his thanks, humbled by her recognition. Karen, however, noticed his lack of confidence and pointed it out candidly. She turned reflective, explaining that most local merchants were resistant to change. Then she suddenly asked for his help. Aina lay exhausted, complaining about unfair pricing. Karen passionately explained the town's broken economy and merchant indifference. She stood determined, proclaiming the need for a proper market to revive the struggling community's trade. With a playful grin, Karen teased Shiro before saying she had something important to give him. To his shock, she handed him a duplicate key to her house, leaving him flustered and confused. Then she quickly jumped to conclusions, declaring that the mayor wanted to marry Shiro, leaving both adults speechless. Karen's face turned red as she flailed in protest, adamantly denying any intentions of finding a husband. She swiftly changed the subject, brushing aside the misunderstanding and stating that she came with a business request. Karen pointed toward a vacant building and explained her plan. Shiro would use the key to set up shop on the ground floor. She informed him that other merchants had voiced complaints about the previous day's market congestion caused by customer gatherings. Then Shiro scratched his head, finally understanding the situation. He agreed that operating in the middle of the street was no longer sustainable. Karen offered to show Shiro around the area, assuring him he could decide afterward. Without hesitation, he accepted. They walked through the lively streets and arrived at a spacious building. Both Shiro and Aina were amazed by the interior. She presented the place with a smile, hoping Shiro would be satisfied. He stood still, overwhelmed by the offer. Aina excitedly called it store number 1. Already imagining the possibilities, while Shiro processed everything, Karen turned serious and asked if she could pose a personal question. Aina whispered a guess, suggesting it might be about romance. Embarrassed, Shiro panicked, misunderstanding her intention. He shouted that he didn't have a girlfriend. Karen froze, then exploded in frustration, yelling that wasn't what she meant to hear. Karen questioned Shiro's decision to start a business in their small town, masking her seriousness with a joke. Later that evening, she admitted the town was modest, home to just 500 people. She pointed out how merchants typically earn more in larger cities. Shiro acknowledged her point but remained calm. He confessed that although he'd only been in Ninurich for 3 days, he genuinely enjoyed being there. He explained that Aina worked hard supporting him, and despite being a stranger, the mayor had treated him kindly. With arms open, Shiro expressed his true feelings. It wasn't profit or convenience. It was the warmth of the people that mattered. Then Shiro looked around at the cheerful faces of the townspeople and confessed he didn't know other towns. He was from another world. Karen stood frozen. His words touched her deeply. She thanked him with trembling hands. Her voice quiet but sincere, flustered. Shiro apologized, thinking he'd upset her. Aina teased him for making Karen cry, but Karen smiled and asked him to call her by name. They exchanged names once more, not as strangers, but as people starting something new. A handshake sealed it, with all 3 names spoken aloud in unity. From selling matches to owning a shop in just 3 days, Shiro's progress was remarkable. The next morning, Shiro finalized a contract at the town hall and officially launched his business. Just 5 days later, the store was already out of stock. Despite their apologies, demand for matches kept growing. Looking over the profit records, Shiro was puzzled. He had sold enough for everyone in town, yet they still kept coming. After closing for the day, Aina offered to help clean, but Shiro insisted she rest. She gave in, though a bit disappointed. Later that night, Shiro prepared tea and snacks, bringing them upstairs. He stretched and smiled, ready to thank her properly. Shiro entered quietly, only to find Aina already fast asleep on the couch, curled up peacefully. He smiled gently, realizing she was still just a child. As he laid a blanket over her, She stirred in her sleep, calling out softly for her father. Her arms reached toward him, instinctively asking to be held. Though startled, Shiro lifted her carefully, holding her close. Ina relaxed in his arms, whispering how her mother used to embrace her the same way. Before he could say anything, she rested her head on his shoulder again. Shiro looked down, surprised that she had already drifted back to sleep. Then Shiro quietly prepared the table, unsure if he had just become someone's father overnight. While she slept peacefully, Ina smiled faintly. Even in dreams, she promised to support him with all her heart. On the 6th day of operations, Shiro decided to give Ina a well-earned break. Managing the store alone proved more exhausting than expected. While Shiro struggled to keep up, impressed by the sales volume, Karen noted the shop had again sold out. Shiro began to suspect something unusual. Karen explained that rumors had spread someone had been reselling the matches in another town, turning a tidy profit and triggering a buying frenzy from outsiders. Shiro suggested placing limits to control demand. Karen paused, then calmly revealed her true reason for visiting. She had come to ask him for a personal favor. After hearing Karen's serious tone, Shiro invited her upstairs for a more private discussion over tea. Before making her request, Karen asked if he knew about the local Adventurers Guild. She explained the guild's function as an intermediary firm. Many of Shiro's customers were adventurers, a connection he hadn't fully realized before. To clarify, Karen detailed how the guild operated, receiving job requests from citizens and assigning them to registered adventurers. Since Silver Moon was the only guild in town, Karen emphasized the importance of the next step. She assured him that with his prior knowledge, the conversation would move faster. Karen revealed the true subject. The guildmaster of Silver Moon had vanished. Shiro reacted with disbelief, startled by the unexpected turn. He excitedly questioned the term Gilmas, finding it amusing, while Karen remained serious about the situation's gravity. With visible concern, Karen explained that the guildmaster had run away the previous night, leaving behind chaos and unanswered responsibilities. The situation worsened. Without leadership or funding, the adventurers were preparing to leave town. The guild lacked the means to continue operations, endangering the town's support structure. Despite the crisis, Karen assured Shiro she had a plan all along. Her calm confidence hinted at something carefully prepared in advance. Karen explained that the capital's Adventurers Guild had proposed opening a branch in their town. Shiro recognized the urgency, with adventurers preparing to leave. He believed accepting the offer was necessary to preserve the town's support system. Then Karen expressed relief at his understanding. His words reassured her that she wasn't abandoning the guild's legacy in vain. She informed Shiro that representatives from the capital would soon visit. To leave an impression, Karen requested Shiro showcase his unique match product. She believed its originality would convince the visitors of the town's potential and strengthen their chances of gaining support from the Capital Guild. Hesitation filled the air as uncertainty lingered in Shiro's response. Karen reassured him, noting that his unique skills might intrigue the inspectors. Her intention became clear: presenting the matches as a symbol of the town's uniqueness could catch attention. Rather than stop there, he promised to prepare something additional. Confidence grew as he spoke of creating a second surprise. Appreciation shone in Karen's eyes. A quiet smile formed as she vowed to repay the kindness shown today. By afternoon, their inventory was once again cleared out. Ina stayed focused on her work while Shiro sat in thought, quietly planning his next steps. Sprawled across a chair, he pondered ideas that might impress the visiting inspectors. No solution came to mind yet. A sudden burst of resolve pushed him to his feet. Without hesitation, he announced his plan to visit Karen. Confusion filled her face upon hearing his request. She questioned whether he truly meant it. Without backing down, he confirmed his choice. Rather than just preparing products, he wanted to experience the adventurer's life firsthand by joining them on a mission. Shiro entered the guild office and informed Karen of his intention to accompany adventurers on quests. She looked at him in disbelief, questioning his resolve. However, Shiro insisted it was the only way to understand what adventurers truly needed in the field. Karen explained the limited options, noting the Eastern Forest as the only active area near town. Her expression turned serious as she asked if Shiro understood the risk involved. Within that very forest, a monstrous creature roared. A blinding attack clashed against its thick hide, illuminating the danger Shiro might soon face. Despite the threat, Shiro clarified he aimed to join adventurers focused on gathering herbs and minerals. Late at night, the substitute guildmaster from the Silver Moon Guild arrived unexpectedly and delivered urgent news. Without hesitation, he fell to the ground, begging for financial help with a desperate expression. The request shocked Shiro. Karen calmly answered his question by gesturing the exact amount they demanded. Realizing they wanted 10 gold, Shiro reacted loudly, prompting Karen to hush him. He attempted to clarify the scale, joking about silver and copper coins. Karen explained the sum was far beyond what a small town could provide. She admitted that, had it been less, she might have considered it. Karen agreed to write a letter for Shiro but warned him not to expect much. After receiving it, he made his way to the Silver Moon Guild located in the Eastern District. Anxiously standing at the entrance, he hesitated. It was his first time approaching a guild building. Upon opening the door, a chaotic scene unfolded inside. While walking forward, he tripped and fell unexpectedly. Rough hands gripped his head as loud voices erupted. Misunderstood as a new recruit, he tried to explain his purpose. Rather than clarifying the situation, things escalated. The towering man demanded a price for his stone-crushing punch, leaving Shiro speechless. Shouting into the building, he stepped through the open doors and found the lobby completely deserted. A quiet sobbing echoed from behind the counter. Approaching cautiously, he noticed someone curled up in distress. Hoping to help, he gently shook the girl and asked for a moment of her time. She finally responded, startled. Confused and overwhelmed, the girl suddenly panicked and demanded to know how long he had been standing there. Her reaction grew more intense. She questioned his touch and jumped to conclusions, asking if he had feelings for her. With confident flair, she introduced herself as Silver Moon's poster girl, claiming power over countless warriors. Fists trembling with pride, she bragged about her strength, insisting even her punch could crush stone. Trying to stay focused, he redirected the conversation, asking to meet the substitute guildmaster directly. To his surprise, she shyly admitted that the substitute guildmaster was her, leaving him completely stunned. Emil served as the substitute guildmaster of the Silver Moon, the only remaining staff member. Following the guildmaster's sudden disappearance, Emil was quickly promoted. Another girl briefly appeared but mysteriously vanished the next day without explanation. Later that evening, Emil vented her frustrations over drinks. She ranted about betrayal and exposed the guildmaster's affair, oblivious to the awkwardness in the room. As her anger grew, she cursed the couple, wishing they'd been captured and sold off in disgrace. Eventually, emotions spilled over, grateful for Shiro's silent support. She called him kind. Her sudden shift in mood startled him, especially as her actions turned bold. As Emil finished fixing her uniform, Shiro interrupted with a formal letter. It was from the mayor. Hearing the title alone triggered an outburst. Emil's imagination ran wild, filled with insults toward the voluptuous mayor. Despite Shiro's confusion, she clarified the sender's identity: Karen, the mayor of Ninarich, known for her charm. But Emil's opinion clearly didn't match the appearance. Holding nothing back, Emil ripped the letter without even reading it. She claimed any message from that woman deserved no respect. The letter's fragments scattered to the floor. Shiro quietly watched, remarking that deceit and betrayal disgusted him most. Emil angrily recalled how Mayor Karen discarded the Silver Moon Guild, replacing them without hesitation or care. Even after lowering herself in a formal dogiza, Emil couldn't borrow even 10 gold coins. She ranted about Karen's stinginess with dramatic flair. Trying to ease the tension, Shiro mentioned that Karen might have her own struggles. The moment he spoke, Emil flared up, accusing him of defending her. Tears welled as she shouted in frustration. Despite her earlier insults, Emil broke down completely, confessing she still loved Karen and considered her a best friend. Shiro, unable to ignore the contradiction, reminded her gently not to insult others, especially those she cared about. Emil lay drained on the counter, overwhelmed by the guild's dire financial state and her helplessness. Shiro, understanding the depth of her stress and her complex feelings toward the mayor, gently urged her to move past the incident. To her surprise, he revealed a commission for the Silver Moon Guild and presented payment up front, signaling genuine intent to help. Hearing that, Emil sat up slowly, returning to her professional tone. She asked for details, trying to regain composure. As night fell, she processed the unusual request. He wanted to accompany an adventurer. She noted the lack of precedent but agreed to process it as an escort request. A distant forest shimmered under moonlight as a powerful request was explained. Seated around a quiet campfire, the adventurers rested under tall trees. Their expressions showed calm, but the air hinted at readiness. Magic, strength, and strategy surrounded them. Known as Azure Flash, the party carried a strong reputation. With diverse talents and trust among them, they prepared for whatever task awaited. Shiro discovered that his home's closet linked to another world. Upon arriving, he met Aina, a cheerful girl living in the city. Soon after, Karen, the mayor, offered him a store to sell goods. With help from Emily, the substitute guild master, he connected with local adventurers. A sign reading "Closed" hung outside the shop. Shiro decided to temporarily shut down his business for an upcoming trip. Explaining it would only last 3 days, he reassured Aina, She smiled, mentioning her own plans while calling it playing adventurer. Though curious, Shiro didn't press further. Aina brushed it off with a smile. After tying his shoes, Shiro prepared to leave quietly. Then Aina smiled and gently patted Shiro's back, wishing him safety before he departed on his trip. After leaving the house, Shiro walked toward the Silver Moon Adventurers Guild, stepping inside with a polite greeting. Waiting just beyond the door, Emily greeted him with a teasing smile and urged him to hurry up. As Shiro hesitated, past memories of Emily's overbearing behavior resurfaced, causing a brief moment of silent dread. Inside the guild, Emily introduced him to Silver Moon's elite party, assigned to help gather rare herbs. Among the seated adventurers, two women caught Shiro's attention, one equipped with armor, the other dressed in a cloak and wide-brimmed hat. Just as Emily began to explain the group's leadership, the blonde swordsman stepped forward with a friendly smile. Lyre revealed himself as the team's leader and reminded Shiro they'd met during a past business exchange involving matches. Their casual familiarity helped ease the initial tension. Next to Lyre stood Rolf, a large priest whose calm demeanor masked immense strength. Attention shifted to Nesca, a quiet magician clad in dark robes. Her words were few, but her power was unmistakable. A careless remark about slow chanting earned Lyre a sharp whack from Nesca's staff. Her expression unchanged. Without missing a beat, she muttered a vague promise to consider speeding up. Lyre quickly shifted focus to the next party member. With high energy and raised arms, Kilfa jumped forward to introduce herself, ears and tail on full display. Curiosity rose as Shiro asked about her feline features. Serving as the group's ranger, Kilfa proudly explained her tracking and combat skills, adding flair with every pose and cheerful tone. Plans moved forward. Lyre asked if everyone was ready, prompting Shiro to respond without hesitation. With everyone's resolve confirmed, the group departed together toward the eastern forest, aiming to complete their mission. Elsewhere, Aina walked alone through town streets, eventually stopping in front of a building with a bottle sign overhead. She pushed open the door and stepped inside, her eyes landing on a familiar figure seated at the bar. Recognizing her from a past encounter, the man greeted her casually. Aina quietly acknowledged him and prepared to fulfill their prior arrangement. Among the group were Rolf, a disciplined warrior monk, and Nesca, a composed wizard. Both carried themselves with quiet confidence, ready for the task ahead. Also present were Kilfa, a nimble ranger with keen senses, and Lyre, the calm leader of the team. The group set off along a forest path. Lyre reassured the newcomer there'd be no need to engage monsters. Their goal was not combat, but herbs specifically, rare ones requested by the guild. Kilfa, energetic and confident, claimed to have found plenty. Evening approached quickly. With the forest darkening, the group agreed to halt and rest. Lyre closed his eyes, thinking carefully about their next steps. Lyre decided to halt the journey for the day, reminding everyone of the group's safety rule. Shiro looked surprised, but the leader insisted resting early ensured long-term survival in the wild. As the team began setting up camp, Shiro reflected on his past job. He admired Lyre's leadership, something he had long wished for. With the fire lit, the party sat together in comfort. Rolf praised the quality of the matches Shiro had provided, noting their convenience compared to traditional methods. He humbly accepted their thanks. Lyre noted the matches would sell well in the royal capital. As the fire crackled, the group shared thoughts on future prospects. Nesca's hunger became obvious after a long day of walking. Lyre acknowledged it was time to eat. Simple meals like dried meat and dense bread were standard for adventurers. While Nesca bit into her food, Shiro reflected on how plain their daily diet was in the wild. Kilfa noticed Shiro had nothing in hand. Offering part of her ration, she kindly extended a piece toward him without hesitation. Before accepting, Shiro revealed he had brought his own food. Kilfa looked puzzled, while Lyre reacted in surprise, clearly unprepared for what would follow. Instantly, modern packaged goods from Shiro's world appeared. Rolf, stunned by the containers, questioned their origin. Questions arose as Shiro unveiled more packaged meals. Others stared in disbelief, wondering if he planned to eat it all. Calmly, he assured them everything was prepared for the entire group and asked for feedback. Realizing the intent, Lyre immediately framed it as a tasting event. The others cheered with enthusiasm, accepting Shiro's offer without hesitation. Soon, everyone began eating. Each bite drew stronger reactions. Sweetness and flavor overwhelmed them. Praises echoed around the fire. "So tasty," became the only feedback shared, shouted joyfully in unison by everyone sampling Shiro's selection. After the meal, exhaustion settled in. Kilfa laid back with satisfaction, while Nesca clutched chocolate like treasure. Lyre found Shiro still awake near the fire, though offered rest earlier. Shiro remained alert, unable to sleep early as he wasn't used to this routine. Instead of insisting, Liar sat beside him. They agreed to pass time with conversation, settling quietly by the campfire while others rested. A warm drink in hand, Shiro observed how adventurers adapted without sleeping bags. Jokingly, Liar wished for a spatial storage skill. Shiro nearly spat out his drink, caught off guard by the idea. The timing was too perfect, curious. Liar asked more about spatial storage. Shiro explained it was rare, but not impossible. Shiro asked about the value of a spatial storage skill. Liar hesitated but gave a rough estimate, assuming it could hold a full cart's worth of goods. After imagining its potential, Shiro concluded the skill was priceless, likely worth more than a noble's estate. A sudden shift in Liar's posture disrupted the calm. Shiro, confused, saw the warrior draw his sword with urgency and caution the group into silence. Without delay, Liar issued commands. Kilfa and Rolf were alerted, while Shiro was asked to wake Neska. Tension spread quickly through the camp. Darkness concealed the figure of a looming monster. Liar sensed it approaching and ordered everyone to prepare. Neska lay fast asleep, lost in a dream filled with sweets and chocolate. Shiro shook her awake, urgently trying to bring her back to reality. Elsewhere, Kilfa sniffed the air, ears perked. A strange scent had caught her attention. One of the knights asked if she could identify it, but her expression stayed unreadable. They soon realized the source of the disturbance was approaching from downwind. Kilfa couldn't track it by smell, and that unsettled them. Without warning, a massive shadow emerged from the darkness. The monster was unmistakable murder grizzly. Retreat seemed tempting, but none dared move. Shiro clenched his teeth, knowing they couldn't win. The ground shook beneath the murder grizzly's steps. Despite the fear, Kilfa declared she wouldn't abandon anyone. Faced with grim odds, one member suggested that someone must act as bait to survive. The decision weighed heavily, yet no better option presented itself. A strange quiz formed in Shiro's mind, evaluating who among them was most disposable. Logic pointed to himself, an outsider, a non-combatant, someone with little value in a fight. As silence fell, Shiro accepted the truth. Everyone's expressions confirmed it. He didn't need to hear the words, their meaning was already clear. With a bitter smile, he accepted his role. Shiro would be the bait for everyone else's survival. Plans shifted. Instead of sending Shiro as bait, Liar and Rolf volunteered to hold off the threat. Shiro stood stunned, unsure how to respond. With calm resolve, Liar apologized to Rolf. Their bond as old comrades left no room for doubt or hesitation. Shiro tried to protest, but Liar rejected the idea. He wanted to leave a strong final impression on the woman he cared for. Neska silently accepted, her eyes serious. Weapons drawn, Liar stepped forward while Rolf prepared healing spells. Neska, hiding her worry, muttered quietly. They all knew the risks. Before anyone could move, Liar shouted his signal to run. Kilfa noticed something approaching from behind, eyes widened as figures emerged from the shadows. Everyone turned tense. Multiple presences were closing in fast. A second roar followed. Not one, but two murder grizzlies had surrounded them. Escape chances dropped sharply. Retreat orders were shouted. Panic began to surface. Neska stood frozen, overwhelmed by the approaching doom. While others braced for death, Shiro calmly searched his pouch. Something his grandmother once said echoed in his mind. His hand moved first. Explosives detonated against one beast, shocking everyone. Confidence returned to his voice as he prepared the next strike. A burst of flame erupted as he aimed the canister. Sparks flew, forcing the beast to recoil instantly. A tense silence gripped the group as they discovered two massive creatures surrounding them. Panic set in under the pale moonlight, terror clouded their thoughts. One girl whispered a grim prediction, while Shiro moved forward. Defying hesitation, the towering beast loomed over them. Shiro stood his ground, facing the threat alone. A companion shouted for him to flee, but he didn't move. Shiro reached into his pouch and swiftly tossed a string of firecrackers toward the beast's path. Sparks flared and leaves scattered from the sudden motion. The explosive flash caught the creature off guard, forcing it to recoil. Seizing the moment, Shiro advanced, determined to end the threat. Leaping into action, Shiro unleashed a powerful spray of mist directly into the bear's face. Just as he recovered, a second bear charged in from behind. A panicked shout warned Shiro, prompting him to turn swiftly and react without delay. Without missing a beat, Shiro sprayed again, hitting the second bear head on while his allies watched in disbelief. One of them questioned whether Shiro had used some kind of magic. Confused but impressed, they stared at him with newfound awe. Shiro casually held up the can, explaining it was simply a commercial bear repellent containing poisonous mist. No spells, just smart preparation. As the group debated whether to flee, Shiro explained the mist's purpose. It blinded and choked the bears. Excitement flashed in one fighter's eyes. He realized this was the perfect moment to strike back. The party rallied behind him, determined to turn the tide, each member prepared to launch their own attack. Working together, they overwhelmed the confused beasts with a flurry of spells, weapons, and coordination. Victory soon followed. With the threat neutralized, the group celebrated. Shiro stood quietly, already focused on cleanup. The others teased him, shifting the mood from battle to banter. Faces turned red as unexpected teasing caught both Lyre and the mage girl off guard. Shiro brought up Lyre's earlier words, shifting the attention again, flustered. Lyre redirected focus to the valuable materials gathered from the defeated beasts. Dismantling began immediately. Tasks were split efficiently: claws, blood, skin, all assigned to experienced hands. Despite discomfort, no one hesitated. Instructions were followed with precision. The group couldn't afford waste, and every piece had value. Their work was nearly done. As the group prepared to depart, Lyre requested a break from their quest. Something weighed on him, and he wanted to return to town. Shiro listened, sensing this wasn't just about rest. While standing over the bear carcass, Shiro learned the materials held more value than expected. Lyre offered half the spoils as thanks. Grateful for the outcome, Lyre praised the item Shiro had used. Without it, survival would have been unlikely. Shiro waved off the compliments, insisting that saving lives mattered more than counting profits. Others watched him in quiet admiration. Unexpectedly, the cat-eared girl leapt forward and declared her affection with full energy. Her sudden confession stunned everyone, including herself. Laughter spread among the party. The priest smiled warmly, voicing deep respect. Even the quiet mage admitted Shiro's character impressed her. Laughter eased the moment as Shiro teased Lyre gently. He acknowledged Lyre's request, understanding the urgency behind it. Rather than let Lyre handle everything alone, Shiro offered to help carry the valuable grisly materials back to town. Others looked on as Lyre chuckled at the offer, doubting Shiro's strength. Despite that, appreciation was clear in his expression. Without hesitation, Shiro revealed his hidden ability. A magical portal opened beside him, proof of his spatial storage skill. Amazement spread across the party. Lyre smiled and reassured Shiro there was no need to apologize. Gratitude remained unspoken but deeply felt. With supplies packed and spirits high, Shiro signaled the start of their return journey toward Ninurich. Lyre, however, questioned the decision. Since spatial storage made transport easy, continuing the herb search seemed logical. Plans shifted. Instead of heading straight home, the group extended their adventure another 2 days to gather herbs. Upon return, a cheerful voice welcomed Shiro. Aina waited in town, waving energetically as the group approached. Introductions followed. Lyre initially misunderstood her as Shiro's daughter. Clarification came quickly. Aina worked at his store. With a smile, Lyre formally greeted her, impressed by how reliable she seemed. After completing their journey, Shiro and Lyre returned to Silver Moon to report their success. Unexpectedly, they found the receptionist in a full panic, frantically pleading for more time to pay a debt. Instead of a proper handoff, the party was met with chaos. The expected formality had completely unraveled. Tears streamed down Emily's face as she begged for one more month to repay her debt. The stern man remained unfazed, his patience clearly exhausted after hearing the same promise for half a year. Inside the guild, curious onlookers noticed the argument. Shiro, observing quietly, asked about the agitated man confronting Emily. Stepping forward, Shiro introduced himself as a local merchant, calm and composed. He inquired about the situation. Meanwhile, 2 guild members discussed the issue. Gerald, once an acquaintance of the now absent guild master with a signed contract on the table. The reality became clear. Emily understood they were bound by the agreement regardless of her intent. Gerald slammed the table in frustration, declaring that the guild building would become his property if payment wasn't made. Despite the pressure, Emily stood firm. Gerald questioned her loyalty to Blotto, the missing guildmaster, urging her to abandon what he saw as a failed organization. Lowering her gaze, Emily denied it was about loyalty. Silver Moon was the only place where she, a beastman, had ever been accepted. For her, it was home. Memories flooded her mind of laughter, struggles, and growth. Though some moments were painful, the happy ones outweighed them. Watching her quietly, Shiro reflected on her words. He now understood this wasn't just a building. Years had passed since Grandma Mio vanished. On a quiet summer day, a conversation stirred painful memories. A relative suggested they sell the house. Though details were unclear, those words struck deeply. Without hesitation, he dropped to his knees, pleading in front of everyone. Back in the present, Shiro stood silently. Emily recognized his shift in mood. Gerald acknowledged her feelings but reminded everyone that personal emotions didn't override legal contracts. Just as the title deed was about to change hands, Shiro intervened. With firm resolve, he stepped forward and shouted, "Please wait." He wasn't going to let them lose another place that held irreplaceable memories. Stepping forward, Shiro called out to Emily and made a quiet request. He asked her to buy something from him, leaving her visibly confused. Once the item was revealed, Gerald gasped, recognizing it immediately. He identified the materials as coming from a dangerous murder grizzly, a rare and valuable subspecies. Shiro declined Gerald's offer to purchase them. Instead, he made it clear these materials were intended solely for Silver Moon. Another adventurer stepped in with a proposal. He offered the same terms as Shiro delayed payment. Without pressure, tears welled up in Emily's eyes. Relief and gratitude overflowed as she shouted her answer with determination. Gerald offered to buy everything, raising his bid to 32 gold coins. Emily stared him down and corrected him, 36 firm and unwavering. Eventually, the deal closed at 28 gold coins, including 2 extra for a rare item. After deducting the guild's debt, the payment finalized at 26 coins. Supporters gathered as Emily realized how close she had come to losing it all. Relief hit hard, smiles spread across her companions' faces. No one sought praise. Each believed they had simply done what adventurers should. Before the moment passed, someone nudged Emily to process their request. Caught off guard, she hesitated. Emily tried to send Shiro away after confirming his safety, but the request couldn't proceed without the escort target. The group caught on quickly, without hesitation. They demanded payment 30 silver coins. Shiro pointed out the discrepancy in fees. He had paid 100 silver, yet only 30 was going to the party. His question left the others momentarily speechless. While Emily attempted to sneak away, she was caught and forced to explain. Tension escalated fast. Frustration spread among the group. Even the soft-spoken adventurers grew irritated. Glowing eyes and divine threats made it clear Emily's accounting tactics had finally pushed everyone too far. Anger erupted as the adventurers cornered Emily. Cracks formed in the air. Magic surged violently. She was launched through the wall. Watching from a distance, Shiro felt relieved. Aina wasn't present to witness the chaos. Shiro returned home after another exhausting day as an adventurer. Aina greeted him warmly from the stairs, eager to hear about his experience. Raising his arms, Shiro began sharing the tale. Aina listened intently as he described the forest and the events that unfolded. He explained how the battle with a murder grizzly stretched over 3 intense days. Aina's eyes sparkled in admiration, clearly impressed by his bravery and effort. Although Shiro humbly credited Azura Flash for the victory, Aina insisted his presence had been crucial. Opening it, Shiro was abruptly struck. In front of him stood Karen, looking serious. He quickly asked what was wrong. Karen suddenly hugged Shiro tightly, tears in her eyes after hearing about the murder grizzly. After managing to breathe, Shiro assured them that Azura Flash protected him. He stood tall, claiming to be completely fine, which brought visible relief to both girls. Then she shifted the topic, asking what he gained from the journey. Shiro answered with confidence, revealing how much he had learned while traveling alongside experienced adventurers. He casually mentioned his business preparations, hoping to impress upcoming inspectors. Suspicion grew as Karen leaned in, suggesting he possessed a storage skill. Shiro tried denying it, but her smirk showed she wasn't convinced. Karen confidently revealed she had known Shiro's secret at a glance. Her observation left no room for denial, and he could only admit it with a nervous gulp. Smirking, she confessed her guess had been a bluff, based solely on his massive stock of matches. Instead of scolding him, Karen offered advice. Her tone became lighter, encouraging him to treat it as practice. As the mood shifted, Karen asked about his next product plans. Aina chimed in. Equally curious, a small item emerged. Sparking surprise, both girls leaned in, intrigued. Karen acknowledged its value, and Shiro stretched proudly, satisfied with a successful business day. A bell rang as Lyre and Nesca entered the shop, checking in on the merchant's progress. Praise for the tidy product arrangement was directed toward Aina. She beamed with pride, happy her efforts were recognized by the adventurers. After the grisly incident, Lyre and Nesca had become a couple. Observing them quietly, someone muttered a playful curse under their breath. Attention shifted to rumors of a guild representative visiting town. Concerns surfaced about whether the new arrival belonged to a respectable organization. Nesca listed notorious guilds known for their misdeeds, naming Devil's Trident, Fang of the Venom Dragon, and Labyrinth Marauders. Aina recalled the mayor had mentioned the name Labyrinth Marauders. Shiro wondered if Karen knew their reputation. Uncertainty spread among the group. Liar admitted he wasn't sure. His expression showed concern but offered no confirmation either way. Shiro considered the possibility that only local adventurers viewed the guild negatively. It might be a regional issue, not widely known beyond this area. In her office, Karen wrote calmly. She understood this world lacked fast communication. With the notorious guild approaching for inspection, she hoped no problems would occur. Aina and Shiro waited in the shop, puzzled by the inspector's continued absence. Despite the clear road from the neighboring town, there was still no sign of him. Meanwhile, two women stood near the entrance, arms crossed, silently growing impatient as the evening bell rang. Aina began closing the store. With no sign of customers, she decided to wrap up the day early. Just as Shiro prepared to lock up, a knock came at the door. A refined young woman entered, politely requesting to examine his merchandise, even at such a late hour. Curious about the match in her hands, she listened as Shiro eagerly demonstrated its use step by step. The noblewoman's attention turned to a curious silver sheet. Shiro explained it was a space blanket, designed for warmth in extreme conditions, wrapped in the thin material. She was surprised by the immediate heat it generated. Impressed by the practicality of every item, she thanked Shiro for the demonstrations. Without delay, she turned to leave. Stating she was in a rush days later, Aina burst through the door, breathless and alarmed. She cried out for Shiro, insisting something terrible had happened. Elsewhere in town, the long-awaited inspector finally arrived. Standing before Karen, he greeted her formally, unaware of the long anticipation that had built in his absence. Shiro and Aina rushed through town, realizing the inspection route had changed. The original plan to visit Shiro's shop after a town tour was canceled without notice. Instead, an unfamiliar warrior appeared, stating Karen had instructed him to escort Shiro elsewhere immediately. They were led to a new location where Karen stood beside the inspector. Shiro took a moment to confirm the man's identity. Karen warned Shiro about the inspector's volatile personality. Despite that, Shiro smiled confidently, claiming he could handle harsh words without issue. Soon after, the formal introduction began. Karen proudly presented Shiro as the town's trusted merchant. Gabus wasted no time criticizing Shiro's store, calling Aina a brat and doubting Shiro's skills. His harsh remarks stung, but Shiro held back his anger. Turning his insults elsewhere, Gabus mocked the building and even targeted the demi-human staff with condescending remarks. Tension escalated when Gabus voiced open contempt towards subhumans. Karen quickly redirected the conversation, urging him to focus on the goods for evaluation. After inspecting the match, Gabus reluctantly admitted its quality. He acknowledged that Shiro at least sold something worthwhile, though his attitude remained dismissive. With a smirk, Gabus announced that the Labyrinth Marauders would establish a branch there. Gabus declared his guild would not only enter town, but become the only one permitted to operate. Silver Moon was immediately targeted for closure. Additional demands included full tax exemption and that all construction costs be covered locally. His final condition was complete control over the match trade. Shiro's invention became the centerpiece of Gabus's monopolistic ambitions. Questions about Shiro's credibility followed. Gabus mocked his professionalism, implying incompetence in a tone both dismissive and provoking. Frustrated, Shiro confronted the inspector. Before things escalated further, Karen interjected, attempting to keep tensions from exploding under Gabus's increasingly insulting remarks. Karen tried to reason with Gabus, explaining that granting him exclusive control over matches was excessive. Rather than compromise, Gabus used a map to illustrate his power, with branches across the nation. He argued that buying through him meant nationwide distribution. He presented the deal as irresistible sell to him and earned more than the town could ever dream. Shiro considered the proposal but remained firm. Production limits made such a monopoly unfeasible, and he refused calmly but decisively. Negotiations collapsed. Karen requested a fresh start, but Gabus exploded with anger, insulting the town and its people, revealing his disdain for anything beyond his control. Before Gabus could storm out, a new argument was made. The region's forest offered rare resources, and adventurers were already using the town as their base. Rather than consider the point, Gabus burst into laughter and insulted the adventurers. Just beyond the room, adventurers who overheard the insult stirred with visible frustration. Still smug, Gabus declared his presence alone could elevate the town. He mocked their offers and demanded a decision. Brushing off the town's worth, pressure mounted. Shiro was told the town's future rested on his answer. Requesting more time, he was instantly dismissed. Gabus showed no patience for delay. A smug merchant mocked the town's staff, suggesting they replace the current worker with someone competent. His insults escalated, calling the locals subhuman and useless. Believing he had gained interest, he continued with cruel arrogance, unaware of the silent fury building across the room. A sudden blow landed square on his face, sending him flying. Rage had boiled over. Without hesitation or warning, his victim struck back. A wave of unease washed over Shiro as he sensed an all-too-familiar tension in the air. He stood in silence, staring ahead while recalling the pressure of a past confrontation. It felt exactly like the moment he left his exploitative job back. Then, his boss had berated a junior employee without reason. Shiro couldn't stay silent and snapped, stepping in to defend the one who admired him. The situation spiraled quickly. Harsh words were thrown, and he was kicked out with a furious shout. Now faced with another abusive figure, Shiro didn't hesitate. Anger surged, and with one motion, he launched the man skyward. Karen approached, clearly shaken. Shiro asked if she'd been harmed. After hesitating, she admitted the man had touched her inappropriately. Hearing that, Shiro lost his composure. He grabbed the offender without warning. Karen pleaded for him to stop, but his rage had already taken over. The armored man asked if Shiro needed assistance without hesitation. Shiro agreed. Drawing on an old memory, Shiro recalled the very move he once used on his boss. With practiced force, he slammed the man down using a devastating pile driver. Afterward, Shiro stood calmly. He stated his stance clearly. He hated violence, but would not tolerate cruelty. Shiro stood firm, voice rising in defiance. He refused to stay silent in the face of injustice. Aina ran to him, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her sudden hug caught him off guard, but her trembling hands made his resolve stronger. Infuriated, the humiliated man shouted threats. His rage exploded as he declared Shiro would pay for what he'd done. Claiming authority, he revealed his ties to the feared Labyrinth marauders and vowed revenge on the entire town. Shiro, unfazed, asked if that meant war against their city. As the mayor, Karen warned that such threats would force her to notify Margrave Bashir, trying to de-escalate. The man proposed a deal. He dropped the issue, given a monopoly on match sales. Shiro leaned in and tugged the man's ear, making his position painfully clear. He wasn't going to be intimidated or controlled. Firmly, he declared no intention of doing business with anyone aligned with the man. If they came to his store, they'd be kicked out. Backpedaling. The man panicked and offered to buy the matches at any price. His tone turned desperate, trying to save face. Shiro remained calm. He refused the offer and affirmed he would continue selling matches retail. Despite his earlier threats, the man tried shifting the conversation, pretending the deal could still be salvaged. Laughter erupted from the adventurers. Their amusement only provoked more insults from the man, but Liar quickly clapped back, pointing out how greed had blinded him. Pushed too far, Liar grabbed the man by the collar. Shiro stepped in, reminding them that violence wasn't the answer, even though he had acted out earlier himself. Ultimately, Liar relented and threw the man out. He ordered him to return to the capital and never come back. With the troublemaker gone, Karen reminded everyone to focus on what mattered. The group agreed. Footsteps moved toward the door just as frustration lingered in the room. Clearly, the man hadn't learned his lesson. A composed woman entered, apologizing for the disruption. She explained her presence was due to hearing the mayor was inside. Karen identified herself without hesitation. Recognition sparked in Shiro's eyes upon seeing the girl, recalling their previous encounter. She introduced herself as Nei Mirage, a representative of Fairy's Blessing, an influential guild known across the kingdom. Asked to state her reason for coming, Nari responded confidently. Her tone suggested the message she carried wouldn't be complex but might carry significant weight. Nari lowered herself respectfully, presenting her request to allow Fairy's Blessing to establish an official guild presence locally. Neki introduced herself with a calm expression and proposed opening a branch called Fairy's Blessing in the town, surprising Shiro's group and raising immediate doubts. Redirecting her pitch toward the guild employee, Nei promised substantial benefits if they agreed to host the new branch, including a salary increase 5 times over. Unable to resist the opportunity, the guild member accepted with dramatic flair, shouting their approval and throwing themselves forward. Shiro, breaking his silence, proposed they should hear Nei out before making any final decisions. Inside the office, Shiro and Karen sat across from Nei, calmly requesting that she explain her background and motivations for establishing a branch in their town. Neri presented a worn map recovered by a guild party from a hidden dungeon, claiming it was crafted by an ancient magical civilization. The map showcasing the full continent. While Shiro and Karen remained tense, Neri revealed that the real significance wasn't the map's existence, but rather where it began. Pointing eastward, Neri explained that the forest in that direction contained ruins from forgotten eras, including ancient kingdoms, temples, and labyrinths. Karen and Shiro reacted with shock at the revelation, struggling to grasp the scale of what Nei implied. Nei then linked the interest of the group Labyrinth Marauders to the ruins, suggesting they sought to monopolize access for themselves. She explained that Fairy's blessing intended to focus its full strength on exploring the ruins. Shiro questioned why this town had been chosen, prompting Eni to explain it was due to the lack of competing guilds. Instead of constructing new facilities, Neri saw an opportunity to collaborate with the existing guild. There was another reason she had chosen Ninaric Shiro's store. Its presence added unexpected strategic value, catching Shiro completely off guard. Neri had visited the store earlier and was impressed by its inventory. She genuinely believed the goods and tools inside could support their operations. She leaned forward with urgency, requesting Shiro to consider opening a branch store within their guild. Karen pressed for clarification, asking what conditions Fairy's blessing might impose on the town. Caught off guard, Nei appeared confused, genuinely surprised by the question, insisting that no such demands had ever been intended. She angrily recalled a previous guild representative who acted arrogantly, despite permission, insulting others and making unreasonable requests. Karen, with a cold expression, added that the man had harassed her, while Shiro noted he'd been insulted too. Although Fairy's blessing had no demands, Neri clarified that they would need lodgings built for members. Gratitude filled the room as Neri formally acknowledged the acceptance from Shiro's group. Karen extended her hand with a welcoming smile, solidifying the partnership. Several days passed peacefully. Shiro resumed his usual work routine, managing customer orders at the store. Confusion clouded her response when she misunderstood a basic task. Shiro's voice reached her again, but she stood motionless. Despite trying to respond quickly, her attention wavered. Requests had to be repeated, and even simple instructions slipped past her. Stacks of coins and notes lay on the desk as Shiro considered the situation. Resolving to act, he decided it was time to ask Aina directly what had been troubling her. Approaching cautiously, Aina called out, hesitating as she tried to speak. Each word came slowly. Stacks of coins loomed behind him while he waited for her to finish. Tears welled in her eyes as she asked desperately for help. Voice trembling, she begged for money, bowing low in shame and frustration. Unable to hold back her emotions any longer, Shiro knelt beside her, calmly asking how much she needed. Coins rolled across the table as he prepared to assist without hesitation. Breaking into sobs, she apologized, believing she was a burden. A gentle pat on her head reassured her. She wasn't. Shiro's smile said everything. Shiro gently praised Aina for speaking up, recognizing how much courage it took. She trembled under the weight of emotion, but his words made it clear she wasn't a burden. Just as the moment deepened, the door swung open and a cheerful voice interrupted. Karen also stepped in, loudly seeking Shiro's opinion on town matters. The sudden noise disrupted the atmosphere completely, and Aina shrank back slightly as the conversation shifted. Both visitors sensed the awkwardness and considered stepping out. Shiro glanced toward Aina again, knowing the real conversation would have to wait until things settled. Hesitantly, Aina gave everyone permission to speak their minds. Though still teary, one by one, those around her offered their support. Rolf was mentioned as capable, and the mayor stepped forward, eager to assist anyone in need. With a gentle tone, Shiro assured her that he too wanted to help. After wiping her face, Aina tried to speak but struggled. The words trembled out and her body tensed. As she tried to say it, something was wrong with her mother. Behind closed doors, her mother sat coughing in a dim room. Wilting flowers nearby reflected her worsening state, confirming the seriousness of Aina's quiet suffering. A petal drifted slowly to the floor, mirroring the fragile condition of Aina's ailing mother confined to bed. At 4 years old, Aina lived peacefully with her mother and father, sharing warm meals and laughter around the table. That peaceful life was suddenly taken when war reached their town. Enemy forces stormed the streets, and fire consumed the buildings. Their house collapsed into charred rubble, and all the things Aina loved were lost. The toys she held dear, the corners she played in, everything turned to ash. In the debris, a man appeared holding her familiar bear. Aina stepped forward, recognizing him as her father. They reunited for a moment, and he gently placed his hand on her head. But that fragile happiness didn't last. Shiro was taken from their home, drafted into the army as part of the national call to arms. The war dragged on for 6 months before peace finally returned. But 2 years passed with no sign of Shiro. Seeing her daughter clinging to hope so stubbornly, her mother stood silently in the doorway. Unable to speak, the mother embraced Aina tightly. She could only cry, overwhelmed by grief and guilt, knowing they could not wait forever. They left the familiar ruins behind, crossed multiple borders, and finally arrived in the distant town of Ninaric. When Aina asked why they had moved to such a distant place, her mother simply answered that war didn't reach this far. 2 years after settling in the remote town, survival became increasingly difficult. The mother ate less each day so Aina could eat her fill. Over time, her mother's health declined from exhaustion and hunger. One day, she sat Ina down and quietly apologized. Reality forced Ina to grow faster than most. Her childhood friend, the stuffed bear, watched silently as she faced the truth. Standing before the mirror, Ina stared at her reflection, then gave herself a firm pat on the cheeks. To support her mother, Ina used her remaining copper coins to obtain a license to sell flowers in the market. One morning, she noticed a traveler with a large pack. Their eyes met, and something about him made her pause. That was when she met Shiro. He not only bought her flowers, but also offered her work. Because of that job, Ina was able to afford medicine for her mother. Relief and hope returned to her face as she skipped joyfully through the streets. Her first earnings, 10 silver coins, were already set aside in her heart for something important. An adventurer claimed the potion he offered could cure anything. Trusting his words, she spent all her money to buy it. After finishing the potion, no change came. Coughs echoed in the room, and hope began to fade. Darkness crept into her thoughts as despair set in. No magic or miracle had worked, only money could solve the problem now. Wishing only to help, she silently begged for a way. If funds were available, traveling to a proper city hospital might have offered a real cure. Tears welled up, but she stood firm and made her request. Asking for money felt shameful, yet she accepted the risk of being hated. Ina struggled to hold back tears, unsure of how her request would be received. Instead of harsh words or rejection, Shiro quietly reached out with calm eyes. Without saying anything, he placed his hand gently on her head. That simple gesture brought relief, and Ina's trembling slowly faded. Shiro listened quietly as Ina lowered her eyes, speaking about her mother's condition. A heavy silence filled the room, broken only by the distant sounds outside the window. A man burst in through the broken wall, fury written across his face. With clenched fists and wild eyes, he demanded to know who had given the girl a false remedy. Another adventurer stepped in, trying to defuse the situation while restraining his companion. He continued explaining that potions like the one Ina trusted couldn't cure internal illnesses. Finally, the truth settled in. Ina had been deceived. Her wide eyes blinked in disbelief as she processed the betrayal. Tears streamed down Ina's face as she tried to process the truth. Her voice trembled, but the pain was clear. Shiro stood silently nearby, unable to offer comfort. With determination, the furious man declared his intent to chase the one who had lied to Ina. The remaining group shifted focus. Shiro, Ina, and two others set out toward her mother's side. Their expressions were heavy with purpose. As they approached the house, Shiro quietly questioned the name of the illness. His eyes narrowed as he repeated the words, living rot disease. Climbing the stairs, Shiro asked about the disease's nature. Confirmation came: her mother truly had living rot. Rolf explained the grim nature of the illness. Limbs weakened, strength faded, and no known cause had been found. The group finally reached their destination, Ina's home. Shiro was surprised by how far she traveled daily just to attend school. Her dedication left him speechless. Taking a deep breath, Ina stepped forward and called out. With cheer in her voice, she invited Shiro inside to meet her mother. Lying in bed, a pale woman stirred at her daughter's voice. Her expression softened as her eyes met Ina's despite her weakened state. The woman smiled warmly. She introduced herself as Stella and thanked Shiro sincerely for caring for Ina. Stella pushed herself up to sit. She apologized for being rude, but Shiro gently noted that Ina was the one caring for him. Ina and Shiro panicked, urging her to lie back down, recognizing the guest beside her daughter. Then Stella expressed confusion over such an important person visiting her home. The older man explained that the mayor simply wished to check on her after learning of her illness. Guilt filled the mayor's voice as she admitted her failure to support one of her people. With a soft smile, Stella conveyed her gratitude. Despite being an outsider, the mayor had welcomed her warmly into the village. Stella was surprised to hear how close Ina had become with so many people, while she had no idea about the friendships forming. Ina proudly listed everyone she had grown close to. More names came up: adventurers who had helped and supported her. Although not all were present, Ina made sure to mention each one. Joy spread across her face as she beamed with pride. Mispronouncing her words didn't matter. At the window, Ina offered to cook something warm for the guests. Stella, though touched, felt uneasy. Before leaving, Ina announced she'd fetch water. Another adult gently offered assistance, watching her sprint out as Stella smiled quietly from her bed. Stella looked toward the mayor with hesitation. After a pause, she politely asked her to leave the room. Once they were alone, she turned to Shiro and explained there was something important she needed to ask. Eyes focused, she asked him to care for Ina after her passing. Though calm in voice, the weight behind her words was unmistakable. Shiro stood silently by the bedside as the frail woman spoke, her words heavy with finality. The truth of her illness unfolded before him, soft yet unbearable. Realization crept into his expression as she revealed her remaining time, fragile yet composed. He recalled Ina's tears, the hidden pain behind her forced smiles. The woman's faint smile wavered, sensing her daughter's silent struggle through his hesitant nod. Memories flashed through her mind, Ina's laughter, her determined eyes, her tireless care. Each day, Ina's cheerfulness became a shield for her mother's peace. Yet lately, that smile trembled, revealing cracks of fear beneath her quiet strength. Ina's mother watched her daughter's bright laughter and wondered where such genuine happiness came from. Memories resurfaced as Ina once confessed her joy came from meeting someone kind. Understanding dawned when her mother realized Shiro's resemblance to Ina's late father. That first encounter replayed vividly in her mind. Ina's excitement had filled the quiet home, surprising the weary woman resting within. For a fleeting moment, the sight of Shiro standing in the doorway made her heart falter. It felt as if her husband had returned to them. Regret softened into gratitude. Though words tangled awkwardly between them, she smiled, sincerely grateful that fate had brought Shiro into their lives. The memory of her late husband resurfaced gently, his face once blurred by time now vivid once more. Realization brought calm acceptance. She spoke softly about reuniting with him beyond life, her tone serene despite the looming farewell. Rising unsteadily, she expressed her final wish for Ina to be protected when she was gone. Before finishing her plea, her body faltered. Panic filled the room as Shiro rushed forward, instinctively reaching out to save her. He caught her in his arms, their eyes meeting briefly in silence. Gratitude and sorrow intertwined, marking the beginning of an unspoken promise. After catching her fall, Shiro gently helped Stella sit down, his concern evident in his unsteady voice. Determined to understand her condition, Shiro hesitated before asking for permission to examine her legs. His request startled her. Yet his sincerity eased her doubt, gathering courage. He began his careful inspection. Stella's heart raced with embarrassment, uncertain of his intentions but trusting his calm demeanor. Silence filled the room as his focused touch revealed the truth beneath her illness. The faint warmth returning to her limbs gave a fragile sign of hope. Realization dawned on Shiro, her body still held faint traces of life's strength. Confidence returned to Shiro's face as he declared his knowledge of the disease plaguing Stella's body. A spark of hope lit the dimly quiet room. His reassurance carried conviction. He spoke of another case he once witnessed, proving that recovery was possible. Her trembling hands gripped the blanket as realization set in. For the first time in years, she imagined a life free from pain. Tears streamed down her cheeks as fear and longing collided. She wanted to live, not for herself, but to remain by her daughter's side. A gentle smile formed on Shiro's face, promising safety in time. Before more could be said, the door opened. As others entered the room, tension rose. Eyes widened at the sight before them, confusion clouding every face. Silence followed their shock. Turning slowly, Shiro met their stares, realizing the misunderstanding and bracing himself to clear the situation. Tension hung in the room as everyone stared at Shiro, struggling to process what they had seen. Relieved, he began outlining the truth behind her illness. Using a board, he introduced the disease known locally as living rot. Each detail drew their attention closer. He described how the sickness stemmed from a lack of nutrients, explaining its symptoms and the simple method to cure it. Memories surfaced of his grandmother's lessons, her gentle voice urging him to help those in need. Determined, Shiro prepared to act. Coins clattered across the floor as his power activated, initiating the exchange that would bring the necessary cure into their world. A small bottle appeared on the table, its label foreign to everyone in the room. Curiosity and disbelief filled the air. He assured them the strange orange pills could heal her disease completely, brushing aside worries about cost or rarity. Anna watched in awe as her mother hesitated. Smiling faintly, Shiro mentioned that Anna's happiness would be the only reward he desired in return. Gratitude softened Stella's expression. Remembering his kindness to her daughter, she accepted the medicine with trembling hands. Weeks later, gentle sunlight poured through the open door. Ina's cheerful voice echoed as she ran inside, greeted by the sight of her healthy mother smiling once more. As Ina entered, her steps froze in disbelief. Before her stood Stella, upright and steady, greeting her warmly after months of frailty. Shock quickly turned into awe. Each movement her mother made felt like a miracle, every word proof of restored strength and vitality. Tears welled up as Ina's voice trembled with a simple plea to once again share the closeness they'd lost. Smiling softly, Stella promised to stay by her side every day. Emotions overflowed as mother and daughter embraced, both crying from relief and joy. Outside, Shiro watched quietly, a proud smile forming. The promise made long ago echoed in his heart to help those in need. As the sun dipped behind the mountains, Shiro savored a drink, relief washing over him after everything that had happened. Peace had finally settled over the town. Stella's recovery was complete, and Ina's laughter filled the days that followed, bringing warmth to every corner of their home. Ina eagerly shared stories of her time with her mother, meals they cooked, flowers they picked, and games they played together. Meanwhile, the Adventurers Guild continued to grow. New alliances were forged, strong warriors arrived. From the porch, Shiro leaned back with a quiet smile. His efforts had not only changed lives but secured his own future. As Shiro relaxed on the porch, Karen's unexpected voice startled him. She appeared with her usual confidence, greeting him under the quiet evening sky. Trying to recover from the surprise, he noticed the bottle she carried alcohol from her hometown. Before long, the calm night turned lively. Karen praised his efforts while teasingly patting his head, leaving Shiro flustered and overwhelmed by her boldness. The teasing continued as drinks flowed. Soon the atmosphere softened, her laughter mingling with his drowsy protests. When the night finally quieted, Karen gazed at the horizon with gratitude. Her heart felt lighter as she whispered thanks for Shiro's kindness and for bringing hope to their town. Resting his head on Karen's lap, Shiro listened quietly as she offered her gratitude. He refused any repayment, insisting he had merely done what was right. Karen watched him closely, her expression a mix of admiration and quiet amusement. Trying to deflect the praise, Shiro laughed it off, claiming he was far from a hero, just someone chasing money and comfort. His thoughts drifted to his grandmother, whose teachings shaped his every action. She had taught him kindness to help others when possible. Hearing his story, Karen smiled warmly. In that moment, she saw not just a capable man, but someone molded by love and compassion that transcended worlds. A quiet evening turned shocking when Karen suddenly recognized Shiro's grandmother's name, perplexed by her astonishment. Shiro listened as Karen explained that Arizu was famous across the entire continent, though few had ever seen her in person. Karen recalled meeting the legendary witch at the town's harvest festival just a year ago, describing her as cheerful and drunk. Dancing through the streets like a free spirit under the clear night sky, Arizu had once wielded a glowing sword from star fragments. Overwhelmed by the revelation, Shiro tried to make sense of it all, realizing his beloved grandmother was far greater and more mysterious than he ever imagined. While reviewing old notes, Shiro discovered a forgotten story about a witch who arrived from another world 80 years ago. Karen's curiosity deepened as he recalled childhood memories, linking the fabled sword Melkupson to his grandmother's odd habits. As the truth settled in, disbelief took over. 7 long years without contact, yet she was still alive somewhere, leaving Shiro overwhelmed by relief, shock, and countless unanswered questions. After returning to his grandmother's old house, Shiro sat in silence, still processing the revelation she was alive. Her framed photo rested on the altar, flashing a carefree peace sign. The day before, he had learned something incredible. His grandmother, known in another world as Arizu the Immortal, had appeared at the previous year's harvest festival, only to vanish again without notice. Karen urged him to wait until the next festival, believing she might return. Shiro, surprised and hesitant, struggled to hide his growing hope. With 2 months left, the mayor eagerly prepared for the grand 120th celebration. Shiro agreed to help. He pondered the idea of running a stall, quickly ruling out standard festival games as impractical, frustrated by the lack of options. He questioned if coming up with a non-food stall was this difficult. A sudden spark of memory changed everything. Childhood thoughts led him to a forgotten yet perfect solution: photography. With excitement, Shiro introduced the idea to Ina, presenting a camera as his new product for the event. Rather than explain, he decided to show its function. He asked Ina to look into the lens, then captured her image instantly. Ina stared wide-eyed at the photo handed to her, amazed by the clear image of herself. Still holding the print, she asked how her likeness ended up inside the paper. Shiro explained it simply. Without hesitation, Ina posed with cheerful expressions. Click after click, she enjoyed having her pictures taken in different outfits and gestures, curious to try it herself. She asked to operate the camera. Shiro gave a nod, encouraging her to press the shutter and take control. With excitement, she snapped his photo and checked the result. Proud of her work, she offered to take many more of him. After several poses in front of the lens, Shiro tried to stop the photo shoot, feeling slightly embarrassed. Ina, still curious, turned her attention to another device on the table. She asked about its function, intrigued by the variety of cameras. Just as he finished answering, she snapped a surprise shot of him mid-sentence, producing a hilarious result. Not wanting to be outdone, Shiro teased her for the sneak attack, only to be caught again in another flash. This time, Ina grinned mischievously, claiming victory. The printed photo revealed a distorted, goofy expression on his face. Speechless, he stared at the result, realizing the tables had turned. As water flowed gently, Shiro recalled his grandmother's presence through a haiku and her familiar peace sign. A soft voice greeted him at the doorway. Stella thanked him for spending time with Ina again today. While chatting, they spoke about the new housing Shiro had arranged for them. Located just 10 minutes away, the place was comfortable, though Stella admitted she was still settling in. Ina suddenly spoke up, revealing her mother's weakness for cleaning. Laughter filled the room while Stella blushed in embarrassment. Touched by their warmth, Shiro assured them he'd always help if needed. Ina expressed her thanks with sincerity. Laughter echoed after Ina pointed out that Shiro also lacked cleaning skills. Both adults smiled awkwardly, sharing the blame. Anana's cheerful farewell brightened the moment. Her wide smile and confident voice made it clear she enjoyed the day. Watching her leave, Shiro responded with gratitude and a gentle reminder for Stella to take care. From behind, two voices echoed their agreement. The Adventurers Guild, now renamed Fairy's Blessing, stood tall in Ninarich, no longer silent or forgotten. Lively voices now filled the once quiet space as adventurers returned from their missions, sharing updates and discoveries from all directions. Within just 2 months, the guild evolved into the busiest branch in the entire Guillerme kingdom. Emily, noticing him immediately, paused from her work and called out with surprise, recognizing her guest with growing excitement and curiosity as he stepped closer to the counter. With a teasing tone, she guessed his reasons for visiting, while Shiro awkwardly denied them, insisting he simply came for dinner. Karen fantasized about a future wrapped in luxury grand castles, elegant carriages, and dragons scattering gold. Meanwhile, a rival appeared, boasting devotion and promising Shiro anything he desired without restraint or hesitation. Ignoring his protests, she leaned in with forced charm, claiming fate had brought them together for drinks. Shiro rejected the invitation, reminding her of his late grandmother's will and his own boundaries. Then Karen, now caught in the emotional chaos, misunderstood his resistance as hidden passion. Clutching his hands tightly, Karen lunged at Shiro with overwhelming energy, getting too close while yelling about a non-existent octopus. In a flash, Kilfa intervened with a powerful flying kick, launching Karen away with precise force. The guild bar filled with laughter and raised mugs as the group gathered to unwind from the madness. Cheers echoed warmly through the hall, easing the tension of earlier events. Around the table, friends discussed Karen's behavior. Some joked, others criticized, but all agreed Shiro had narrowly avoided disaster. Unexpectedly, she joined the feast as if nothing had happened. The group exploded with shock, while Shiro shouted in disbelief. A verbal clash escalated in the guild as a hot-headed warrior provoked the masked magician. Calmly, the mage accepted, calling it his duty to teach fools a lesson. Shiro tried to intervene, but the crowd was already placing bets and cheering. Fists flew. Despite their elite backgrounds, none had found success in the ruins. 2 months had passed with no progress, and irritation brewed just beneath the surface. As blows continued, Shiro finally understood the deeper issue. The adventurer's anger wasn't personal. It came from disappointment and boredom. With no entertainment and being stuck in the boonies, everyone was restless. Karen reappeared, trying to distract Shiro again. Karen hinted at a different kind of entertainment, making Shiro freeze in confusion at her implications. She teased him further, calling him slow-witted for not catching on, while he remained completely expressionless. With a sly smile, Karen clarified she meant a perverted shop, causing the table to panic. Despite her tone, she maintained innocence as the others reacted in shock. Arguments erupted. Lyre was blamed for suggesting something indecent, while another denied ever setting foot in such a place. Just then, a loud cheer broke out nearby as the tavern's earlier brawl ended with a dramatic stomp. Shiro sighed, calling the fighters a stupid couple as peace returned to the table. The guildmaster, she arrived with commanding presence, her voice booming through the hall, demanding an end to the chaos. Instantly, everyone froze. Adventurers scrambled to deny involvement, their expressions panicked, under Emil's unimpressed stare. Soon after, she approached the table gracefully and apologized to Shiro for showing an unseemly side of herself. With a calm yet stern tone, Emil turned serious. She questioned Shiro's group about their inaction, rejecting any excuse they gave. Karen was dragged away protesting, claiming to be Shiro's future wife. Naiki and the others remained at the table, ignoring the drama as they prepared to discuss something more important with Shiro. While exploring ruins, the group stumbled upon something unexpected, a rare flower buried deep in the forest. After hearing their story, Shiro agreed to join their journey under one condition: his safety from monsters had to be guaranteed. The group welcomed his decision with surprise and relief. Confidence filled the room as the armored man reassured everyone of their improved strength. With renewed motivation, they raised their mugs high and toasted to the journey ahead. A gentle breeze carried petals across the sky as a single flower swayed under the sun. Shiro stood in silence, captivated by its presence. Though delicate, it radiated a quiet strength. He knelt to observe them closer. Apsara, the name suited their elegance. These rare flowers bloomed only beside clear, untouched waters, untouched by the world's filth. The group rested among the flowers lying on the soft ground. Shiro thought of Ina. Laughter broke the stillness as a companion approached. Rest was over. Jokes flew as Shiro sat up, slightly embarrassed by the brief nap. Duty returned quickly, before sunset. The group began gathering Apsara vital ingredients for potions. While returning from their gathering, Lyre noticed something wrong. The Apsara flowers had started to wilt, their once vibrant petals drooping before anyone could react. Attempts to preserve the flowers failed. Neither water nor magic could halt their decay. Shiro recalled his spatial storage ability. Items kept inside neither aged nor decayed. It was the perfect solution for transporting delicate ingredients. After storing the flowers safely, the group relaxed. Kilfa remained asleep the whole time. A swarm of fly-shell bugs emerged from the sky. Their wings buzzed ominously, signaling that peace wouldn't last long. 17 fly-shell bugs crawled nearby, massive and unsettling. Shiro froze as instructed, eyes wide with concern. Closer inspection revealed the bugs were already wounded. Blood clotted near deep-cut signs of previous battles. Their injuries didn't stop them. The swarm noticed the group. Orders flew fast. Protect Shiro, cast spells, hold ground. Nesca unleashed a blazing fire arrow. The impact struck hard, flames lighting up the field in defense. Yet one bug shrugged it off. Armor intact, it charged forward. Kilfa intercepted without hesitation. Weapon drawn, Kilfa shouted, signaling the perfect moment. Nesca responded without delay, channeling magic into a focused firebolt. Flames struck hard, sending one bug spiraling. It became clear these enemies were vulnerable to fire. No hesitation followed. Shiro quickly pulled out a gas canister. Despite warnings, he had a plan, something far more dangerous. With a spark, it can turn into a makeshift flamethrower. Fire surged out, catching several bugs mid. Rolf charged next, using the opening. His strike landed directly, crushing a bug before it could recover. The battle turned in their favor. Blades swung and spells flared, striking down the remaining bugs with precision. Voices overlapped mid-combat. Requests, affirmations, and cries filled the air as teammates worked in tight coordination. Numbers thinned rapidly. Only 6 bugs remained. Shiro watched in awe, realizing how much stronger everyone had become. Without warning, the swarm changed direction. Nesca stood alone as multiple enemies closed in from all sides. Flame canister raised, Shiro hesitated. The enemies were too close. Using fire now might harm Nesca. A warning cry echoed as Nesca was nearly struck. Shiro moved without thinking, pushing her away. In time, one of the bugs swooped down. Shiro froze, but the enemy didn't hesitate. Its claws closed around him. Lyre shouted toward the river. With no time to think, Shiro twisted free and leapt into the current. Water swallowed him instantly. Struggling against the flow, he surfaced briefly. Nesca began casting magic from the shore. Light shimmered across the river. Lyre ran beside it, promising through clenched teeth that they would find him. Darkness surrounded him. A faint voice reached out, asking if he could still breathe or move. Gradually, the blurred shape of someone appeared. He coughed violently as water spilled from his lungs. Strength returned slowly, confused and soaked. He struggled to focus on the figure now clearly watching him. Wings shimmered in the light. A girl with sharp eyes stood tall, casually revealing she was a fairy. Shiro encounters a fairy-like girl in the forest for the first time. Her sudden appearance leaves him speechless and staring. A nearby merchant leaps in, shouting about how he saved Shiro from drowning. Without his help, Shiro would have become food for river monsters. Shiro manages a grateful thank you. Curious about the situation, the girl asks what led Shiro to drift down the river. Shiro explains he jumped in to escape a pursuing monster. When asked where he came from, Shiro answers that he's from a town west of the forest. The name of the town surprises her. Realizing it's a Hume settlement, she insists he take her with him. She describes a male Hume she once met, taller than Shiro, cheerful, with sky-colored eyes and hair. Curious, he asks if she knows the man personally. She explains that although they are both Humes, that doesn't mean she knows him well. She admits she never learned his name. Since he was the only Hume she knew at the time, she simply called him Hume. Shiro learns the man hunted monsters and met her in the forest. He jokes about it, sounding romantic, prompting a strong reaction from the girl. Firmly denying any romance, she insists they were just friends. Shiro lightens the mood by calling them best friends. Shiro asks if the girl knows the forest well. She proudly declares she was born and raised in Jigna Forest. He proposes a trade. She guides him to the western part of the forest, and in return, he'll take her to Ninarich. Overjoyed, she accepts the deal. Eager to help, she boasts she'll protect him with her magic. She immediately demonstrates her power by unleashing a massive wind attack, cutting through trees and terrain with force. After the dust settles, she proudly asks for his opinion. Shiro praises her strength, though he worries she overdid it. A previous attack by flyshell bugs left Shiro with a wound. Patty casually boasts she blew them away without hesitation. They formally exchange names, Shiro introduces himself, and the girl cheerfully declares her full name Patty Falulu. Taking charge, Patty demands to be called boss, since she's the one guiding their journey. Hearing him call her boss brings her unexpected joy. She laughs and asks him to say it again. Clearly enjoying her new title, he humors her with a loud "Alright, boss." But things spiral as he jokingly offers to act like a loyal henchman. Patty quickly draws the line, forbidding any romantic gestures, even in jest. Attempts at playful role-playing continue, but Patty grows frustrated by Shiro's exaggerated servant act and gangster impression. As they sit beside the fire, Patty asks if Shiro wants to return to his friends. He admits they're probably searching for him even now. Patty watches silently before making a decision. With newfound resolve, she declares her intent to help him reunite with them. Trying to act like a proper boss, she offers food to Shiro, claiming it's a gift from a superior. While rummaging for something, she hints it will be special. A massive magical circle appears before her. She activates the spatial storage skill, stunning Shiro. From within a glowing magical circle, the girl effortlessly pulled out an apple and took a bite. She explained calmly that spatial storage wasn't uncommon among fairies. Her ability was simply part of who she was, not something extraordinary. As the sun dipped lower, she offered him a gourd of warm mead. Shiro hesitated but accepted, soon overwhelmed by its rich flavor and comforting warmth. While he enjoyed the drink, the girl declared she'd take the night watch. Shiro chuckled at her assertiveness but agreed, grateful for her presence. Beneath the twin moons, their quiet exchange left a lingering peace. Shiro looked toward the sky, heart slightly lighter. Patty explained the surrounding area of Jigina Forest, naming goblins, orcs, and even ogres among its inhabitants. Panting from exhaustion, Shiro asked for a break. Patty reluctantly agreed, fluttering beside him, still energetic. While Shiro rested, Patty excitedly examined a strange flower, misidentifying it. She cheerfully shared odd trivia no adventurer would know. They sat beneath ancient trees, ruins hidden among tangled roots. Shiro pondered the possibility that Jigina was once a magical kingdom, long before the forest claimed it. Suddenly, a shout broke the calm. The elf girl spotted danger approaching. Patty shouted commands, and Shiro's instincts kicked in. It was time to hide. Voices echoed through the trees as Shiro's companions called out, their worry carried by the wind. Panic rose when there was no answer. Fearing the worst, one shouted at the cliff's edge, refusing to believe Shiro had fallen to his death. Meanwhile, hidden safely below, Shiro stirred. Despite Patty's scolding, he stood slowly, eyes searching the canopy. A quiet warmth filled him. Surrounded by those who risked so much, he whispered these were his precious companions. At last, his voice broke through the forest. "I'm here." Birds scattered as his call reached the others, who turned in sudden hope. Out of the sky, Kilfa leapt from the bird's grasp, her face alight with relief upon seeing Shiro. Tears flew with her as she crashed, landed directly into him, knocking both to the ground in a chaotic heap. Her arms clung tightly, words choking between sobs. She had feared the worst. Shiro winced but managed a weak smile, brushing off dirt. Shiro stood tall. He reassured everyone with a soft voice and calm presence. "It's fine now," he said, warmed by their concern around him. Companions bowed low with guilt and gratitude. Promises to protect and repay him poured forth as the weight of survival settled in. Shiro stood surrounded by his companions, assuring them that survival and reunion were the only things that mattered. While some praised his courage, Shiro clarified he hadn't escaped alone. Someone had saved his life along the way. He introduced Patty, the fairy who had rescued him, startled. The others stared in disbelief at her appearance. The group learned fairies were part of the illusory race, rarely seen by anyone. They questioned how such an encounter was even possible. Patty hesitated but admitted that leaving her village was against their laws. Shiro's casual comment about the guild's name revealed his genuine innocence, unintentionally softening the group's tension. Patty questioned the need for fairies to bless humans, clearly frustrated. Shiro could only offer a vague guess. The wizard stepped forward, revealing the truth behind the guild's name. Fairy's Blessing referred to a legendary mead brewed exclusively by fairies. Shiro casually confirmed he had drunk it, unaware of its rarity. The wizard froze in shock, realizing what it meant. Everyone froze when Shiro admitted he had drunk the fairy's mead. The others stared, stunned by his boldness. Information from the guild's records confirmed the mead's rarity last seen at an auction 2 centuries ago. Still processing the revelation, the group acknowledged that Shiro's life had been saved by a fairy. As a token of gratitude, the team offered assistance in return. Shiro requested help for Patty, who was searching for someone with blue hair and eyes. Now, with a shared purpose, the group prepared to head back. With the matter resolved, they began their return journey to Ninurich, determined to fulfill Patty's request. From the hillside, the group spotted a distant settlement. Patty pointed excitedly, identifying it as a Hume village. Confused by the size, she called it a city. The others explained their naming system based on population. Upon arriving, a small figure caught their attention. A young girl stood still, staring at Shiro with wide eyes, whispering a familiar name. Recognition dawned as Aina rushed forward, wrapping her arms tightly around Shiro. He froze, surprised by her sudden appearance. Tears flowed freely as she clung to him, calling out to her older brother. Shiro gently embraced her back, struggling to find words as the sun began to set. Shiro stood face to face with Stella, who greeted him with calm relief. She explained how Aina had been unable to sleep, worried about her brother's safety. While the others said goodbye, despite exhaustion, Stella remained firm in her role. Shiro watched her walk ahead, still carrying Aina on her back without hesitation. Holding her daughter close, Stella smiled softly. She declared she wouldn't hand Aina over, reminding him that she was still Aina's mother. Outside their quiet home, Shiro bid them good night. As they turned to head inside, he called out, remembering something he forgot to say. At the doorway, Stella welcomed Shiro home with a gentle smile, Aina rubbing her eyes beside her. Shiro responded softly, confirming he was home at last. The quiet night blanketed the house as their voices faded. Inside, Patty looked around in amazement, stunned by the size of Shiro's house compared to her own. Curious, Shiro asked about fairy homes. Patty explained their elevated tree dwellings designed for safety from monsters. Before resting, Patty reminded Shiro of their mission. He assured her he hadn't forgotten, promising to help find her friend the next day. Her joyful celebration echoed into the night. Patty, bouncing with energy, explained that making mead was simple as long as she had honey. However, she quickly admitted honey was hard to come by. Her last attempt ended in chaos with a swarm of bees chasing her. Shiro pulled out a jar labeled Super Pure Honey. Patty's eyes widened in disbelief. The moment she tasted it, joy exploded on her face. Ecstatic, she declared that this honey could produce an even higher quality mead. Shiro smiled, glad he brought it. With the excitement settled, Shiro lay back on the sofa, exhausted from his travels. As moonlight filled the room, he finally rested in comfort. Aina stood beside the couch, watching Shiro mumble in his sleep before gently urging him to wake up. Blinking, he slowly opened his eyes to find her leaning over him, confused why she had come, stretching out. He realized she was delivering lunch from her mother. She smiled, then asked about the unfamiliar girl nearby. Without delay, Shiro introduced Patty, the energetic fairy who had been helping him lately. Aina's eyes lit up in surprise. Patty curiously asked who Aina was. Shiro replied that she worked part-time at his store. Before she could respond, he turned to Aina with a request of his own. When asked about a man with blue hair and eyes, Aina looked uncertain. After a pause, she admitted she didn't recognize anyone like that. Patty's disappointment showed immediately. Still, Shiro reassured her, reminding them it was a small town and asking around could lead to answers. Excited by the idea, Aina quickly volunteered to help with the search. Her enthusiasm lifted the group's spirits. Before heading out, they realized they needed to hide Patty, whose fairy appearance might attract unwanted attention. She prepared to leap looking for a solution. With determination in her eyes, Patty agreed. The plan was set and their search was about to begin. Hand in hand, they stepped into the street. Aina smiled brightly, Patty ready in her bag. The search began. Shiro wandered the market, holding up a drawing of a distinct necklace. He approached a familiar vendor, hoping for a lead. Undeterred, Shiro questioned more townspeople. A young couple studied the image, puzzled. Neither had seen the necklace before. He visited specialized shops next. A clerk examined the drawing carefully but shook his head, unable to recall anything. A more refined merchant insisted no such person had ever been to his store. Even a rugged bartender gave no answer. Shiro showed the sketch once again, but only received indifference. Holding the drawing tightly, Shiro exhaled. 27 people asked, 0 results. Not a single clue. Not even a rumor. Shiro reviewed the necklace photo again. Though the man claimed he was headed for Ninarich, doubt lingered. The design matched Boss's necklace, a rare and specific detail. Soon after, Karen appeared unexpectedly. Her arrival surprised both Shiro and his companion. Standing tall, Karen expressed concern. News of Shiro's latest journey with Azure Flash had reached her. He tried to apologize, but she gently stopped him. A soft pat on his head conveyed her relief. What mattered most was his safe return. Back in town, Shiro resumed the search. Embarrassed by Karen's closeness, he fumbled when asked about his red face. Karen stared at the photo in silence. She recognized the necklace, but couldn't place where she'd seen it before. Despite her uncertainty, she promised to tell Shiro if anything came to mind, grateful. Moments later, she excused herself, heading toward the guild. Shiro assumed it was a routine visit, but her expression hinted otherwise. Stopping abruptly, Karen turned with fiery determination. Her voice trembled with emotion as she named Azure, Flash, those responsible for endangering her dear friend. Elsewhere, Shiro braced for impact as an enemy launched a meteor attack. Thoughts rushed through his mind of Aina, Lyre, San, and the others. He prayed they'd escape safely. Shiro leaned in, persuading the fairy to approve Aina's request. With a blush and reluctant tone, the fairy agreed just for one night. Later that day, Aina returned home, nervous yet determined. She greeted her mother and asked her to keep something secret before revealing it. Her mother smiled warmly, agreeing without hesitation. But as the moment grew near, a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. Aina opened her bag slowly, her mother watching with slight tension. From inside the bag, the tiny fairy peeked out, meeting Aina's mother face to face, surprised but curious. The fairy noted how much they resembled each other in features and eye color. Aina's mother was stunned to find a real fairy emerging from her daughter's bag. Shocked, she could barely react. Moments later, the fairy darted around the room, gleefully leaping onto a soft bed. Laughter filled the house as Aina's mother watched in amusement. Over tea, the conversation turned serious. Aina asked Patty the fairy for details about a certain human man mentioned earlier. Her mother quietly listened. Patty hesitated at first, but gave in after Aina pleaded. With a sigh, she agreed to share the story just this once. Looking out the window, Patty recalled the memory. It began the day she left her village for the first time. While stumbling through the forest, the armored man chased a horned rabbit but failed miserably. He cried out in frustration. Feeling pity, Patty decided to help and launched a precise wind cutter, startling the rabbit. After witnessing her magic, the man froze. His eyes widened in awe as he slowly turned toward her. Unable to believe what he saw, he asked if she was truly a fairy. That unexpected moment marked the beginning of their first encounter. Starving and exhausted, the man collapsed into the grass and tore into cooked horned rabbit meat. Suspicious of his reaction, the girl initially thought his taste buds might be broken. However, she soon learned he hadn't eaten a proper meal in over 10 days. Grateful for the rescue, he bowed and asked for her name, calling her Fairy San out of respect. She stared for a moment, then withheld her name. Once you become a real hunter, she said, I'll tell you. Determined, the man trained under her watchful eyes. He practiced with his bow, hunted birds, and faced beasts in the wild. Standing beside the fallen beast, he looked toward the fairy with confidence. He asked if he'd grown enough and gently requested her name. She smiled and agreed. Just as she began to speak, old painful memories struck her. That unexpected moment turned out to be the last time she saw him. Though their time was short, a strong bond had formed between them. She explained her regret how she had planned to tell him her name next time, but the next time never came, and his name also remained unknown to her. Emotion overwhelmed the girl. Listening to the story, tears welled up. And she promised they would find him. Moved by her friend's tears, Aina promised without hesitation. Under the moonlight, hope flickered between them. Meanwhile, 2 hours earlier, the man was back in his own world, enjoying the comforts of home. Upon arrival, he was greeted by Lyre and other familiar faces. Surprise lit up his eyes as they exchanged greetings. Lyre's cheek was swollen. Though questioned, he brushed it off as unimportant. The truth was revealed soon after the mayor had struck him for bringing the man into the forest. Despite the slap, Lyre stood firm, refusing to apologize. Moments later, he laughed it off and invited his friend to the guild bar. Shiro curiously sampled the fruit, finding it sour and less flavorful than expected. Lyre, startled by Shiro's innocent comment, teased him. He questioned whether someone Shiro's age had truly never tasted wine before. Shiro denied being unfamiliar with it, explaining that in his hometown wine was both affordable and delicious. With growing interest, Shiro expanded on the subject. He spoke of various wine flavors, from sweet to bitter, and noted the rising popularity of orange wine. Finally, he touched on price, comparing cheap wines to mansion-level luxury bottles. Everyone in the bar turned their eyes towards Shiro. A bearded man urged him to continue his story, prompting him to nervously resume. He explained how alcohol was common in his hometown due to constant trade. The crowd leaned in, clearly intrigued by his words. Suddenly, a realization struck him. Shiro's expression changed as he envisioned the enormous business potential hidden in his knowledge. He stood with newfound determination. Sharing his plan aloud, Shiro believed it could benefit everyone and maybe solve several problems at once. With confidence, he invited them all to return in 3 days. If they did, he promised to serve authentic alcohol from his hometown, marking the beginning of his entrepreneurial journey. Everyone in the bar turned their eyes towards Shiro. A bearded man urged him to continue his story, prompting him to nervously resume. He explained how alcohol was common in his hometown due to constant trade. Suddenly, a realization struck him. Shiro's expression changed as he envisioned the enormous business potential hidden in his knowledge. He stood with newfound determination, sharing his plan aloud. Shiro believed it could benefit everyone and maybe solve several problems at once. With confidence, he invited them all to return in 3 days. If they did, he promised to serve authentic alcohol from his hometown, marking the beginning of his entrepreneurial journey. As night fell, Shiro adjusted his tie and stepped out with purpose. This time, he wasn't himself. He had taken on a disguise for the occasion. Inside the bar, Ina and Stella noticed his transformation. Both praised his appearance, their own uniforms showing they were part of something planned. Lyra arrived and complimented the setup. The bar counter, built specifically for the guild event, stood proudly at the center, inviting everyone inside. Ina expressed her wish to help, her energy unwavering. Shiro hesitated, unsure about letting a child work in a bar. With preparations complete, Neska and Kilfa received their reward, a bottle of their choice. Shiro turned to Ina. Ina excitedly shouted her drink choice, grape juice, just as the rowdy crowd grew impatient for the event to start. Stepping forward confidently, Shiro introduced himself as the store owner and officially opened the celebration in honor of the guild's hard work. Cheers erupted from the adventurers as Shiro presented a wide selection of alcohol from his store, along with snacks to match. Despite his nervousness over spending 3 million yen, he proudly declared everything free and encouraged everyone to enjoy without restraint. To conclude the opening, Guildmaster Ne Mirage addressed the crowd, reminding them to drink responsibly and not neglect duties tomorrow. The crowd surged forward for the first toast, nearly knocking Shiro over as excitement took over the room. Ne Mirage restored order with a commanding tone. As the guests lined up, Shiro introduced a drink called Beer Lyre. Curious but uncertain, asked for a recommendation. Ina explained that squeezing lime juice into the beer made it better. After one sip, Lyre's eyes widened. The bubbly, citrus, enhanced drink surprised him with its flavor and smoothness. Other guests quickly took notice of Lyre's reaction. Requests poured in and the bar filled with chatter. He even suggested adding salt to enhance the taste further. Orders flooded in as guests eagerly shouted for more drinks. Ina and Stella scrambled to keep up. Shiro managed the bar smoothly, calling for the next customer. Momentum was building and the atmosphere turned even livelier. A dwarf stepped forward demanding the strongest drink available. Whispers spread quickly. He was Erdos, known as the Indestructible. One of the famed 16 heroes. Without hesitation, Shiro offered a bottle of Spiritus, known for its intense strength. Its reputation alone made it a rare challenge, even for veterans. Erdos lifted the small cup and frowned. Shocked by the portion, he protested, declaring himself a seasoned dwarf over 200 years old. Spiritus's label revealed its strength, 96% alcohol. Shiro explained the tiny portion was for safety, not insult. But Erdos wasn't convinced. Warning about the drink's danger didn't help. Despite Shiro's efforts to de-escalate, Erdos's pride remained wounded by the perceived slight. Shouting erupted. Erdos slammed his hand on the counter and challenged Shiro to a fight, ready to settle the matter outside. Before things escalated, a man stepped in and introduced himself as Rolf Fas Michel, a priest of Florine. His calm demeanor stood in stark contrast. Rolf acknowledged Erdos's anger and attempted to mediate. Rolf revealed that priests could remove intoxication with a spell cure. His proposal caught Erdos's interest immediately. A backup plan was set. If Erdos passed out, cure would restore him. Shiro hesitantly accepted, and Erdos gave his approval. Dismissing the earlier warning, Erdos stood tall, claiming he'd never stumble. He boasted of past battles against dragons and demon lords. Images of countless enemies, golems, vampires, undead armies flashed through his mind. None had ever brought him down. To him, booze would be no different. With unwavering resolve, he demanded the drink. Onlookers watched in awe, recognizing both his physical and mental strength. Erdos proposed a wager. If he stumbled, he'd grant any request. If not, he'd drink for free forever. Shiro accepted the terms. With determination, the drink was poured to the brim. Erdos confidently prepared for the challenge ahead. A strong alcohol scent rose from the mug. Even Erdos admitted it stung more than any drink he'd tried before. Without hesitation, he began chugging the entire barrel. The crowd watched in disbelief as the liquid disappeared in one continuous gulp. A loud burp echoed. Though it burned fiercely inside, Erdos remained composed. He braced himself to prove that even Spiritus couldn't topple him. Erdos leaned in confidently, demanding an answer with no signs of unsteadiness. Shiro admitted defeat before the crowd. Grinning wide, Erdos celebrated his victory. He reminded Shiro of the deal, expecting endless drinks free of charge from that moment forward. Suddenly, his laughter turned into a groan. Without warning, his body gave out and he collapsed flat onto the floor, drink still in hand.
Erdos suffered after drinking too much alcohol, leaving him exhausted and unable to recover quickly. Others reminded him that magical healing had saved him, while his reckless drinking became a source of embarrassment. The defeated warrior quietly reflected, making alcohol his first unexpected loss instead of any battlefield enemy. Meanwhile, the hero introduced the drink to more people, and its popularity spread rapidly across the town. Soon, everyone happily enjoyed the beverage, while the hero generously shared it, creating excitement and leaving a lasting impression on the community. Shiro considered the expensive cost worthwhile because it helped free the enslaved adventurers and earned the merchants' respect. Grateful adventurers celebrated together, while Aina prepared to deliver the newly arrived goods throughout the area. Their appreciation became lively, and Shiro accepted the cheerful reactions with quiet satisfaction despite the playful commotion. Later, he noticed a suspicious box with fairy wings, causing him to question the real purpose behind the gathering. Meanwhile, the merchant returned carrying the mysterious box, leaving Shiro aware that his hidden friend had finally been discovered. The merchant realized the missing friend was not an adventurer, while the hidden girl quietly admitted the truth and blamed herself. Overwhelmed by guilt, she isolated herself and regretted causing trouble for everyone who had helped her. Days passed without any success, and every search ended with the missing person still nowhere to be found. Eventually, Shiro explained that humans lived across countless places, making the search far more difficult than expected. Hearing that reality, the girl remained determined, hoping Shiro would return and help continue the search despite the overwhelming odds. Karen unexpectedly arrived carrying a box, claiming she might know the identity of the person everyone had been searching for. Opening the box, she revealed a familiar necklace that immediately connected to the missing individual. Its history traced back to Karen's great-grandfather, the first mayor of Ninurich, uncovering an important family connection. Meanwhile, Shiro explained that he had requested the search because Karen's ancestor held the answers they needed. Suddenly, the fairy appeared before everyone, leaving Karen stunned as the hidden truth behind the mysterious search finally began to unfold. Patty asked about Karen's ancestor, while Karen struggled to believe that her great-grandfather had truly known a fairy. Curiosity quickly turned into confusion, as Patty assumed Karen should know her ancestors' whereabouts through their family connection. After hearing the explanation, Karen quietly realized the misunderstanding and began thinking more carefully about the situation. Seeking another clue, she asked Patty about the natural lifespan of fairies instead. Without hesitation, Patty explained that fairies could live for around 3,000 years, making the search for Karen's ancestors seem possible once again. Karen realized the person Patty sought could not have survived, as humans lived far shorter lives than fairies. The painful truth settled over the room when Patty finally learned that the man she had waited for had died long ago. Memories of rejection resurfaced, leaving Patty overwhelmed by fear, loneliness, and the pain of being pushed away. Cruel words from the past echoed in her mind, deepening the wounds that had never fully healed. Broken by those memories, Patty believed nobody cared about her, convincing herself that even her own family had abandoned her. Unable to endure the village's harsh rules, Patty left alone on a moonless night and wandered into the forest. There, she met a young hunter who treated her with kindness, thanked her sincerely, and asked for her name without fear. His warm smile encouraged Patty, giving her hope and making their growing friendship feel truly special. Together they spent joyful days playing, laughing, and creating precious memories that Patty had never experienced before. As time passed, Every shared adventure taught Patty the meaning of friendship, filling her lonely heart with happiness for the first time. The young hunter bravely fought a fierce monster, risking his life to protect Patty from certain danger. Watching the battle, Patty realized someone truly cared enough to save her without expecting anything in return. Later, the hunter crafted matching necklaces from the stones Patty had given him, creating a meaningful keepsake. He presented the necklace as proof of their friendship, promising it would remind them of each other even when separated. Hearing the meaning of best friends, Patty treasured those words deeply, experiencing genuine friendship for the very first time. Patty realized she had found not only a friend, but someone she considered her very first best friend. Overcome with happiness, she shed tears of joy while trying to hide the emotions she had never experienced before. Later, the hunter asked for her name, but Patty hesitated, fearing that revealing it would end their precious bond forever. Instead, she suggested exchanging names the next time they met, hoping those peaceful days would continue a little longer. Smiling warmly, the hunter accepted her promise, leaving Patty determined to meet him again someday.